Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's Thursday evening, and we did get back, but it was late last night from down by Charlottesville, where we were having a soil and water board discussion about how do you mix solar and solar farms and agriculture in Virginia. And development has a lot to do with how we lose ground, literally. But this is another question. So anyhow, it was an outstanding presentation by a panel we put together, and it was well attended. And then when we were leaving, we stopped off at Monticello. It's been years since I was there, and it was a kick to visit it. And we came into some luck in terms of touring and so forth, and I recommend it strongly. And I put up some pictures because people have asked for more pictures, because they either remembered going there themselves or they wanted to be teased to think about going there. Well, it's worth it. It'd be worth an overnight. You go to a couple of historic places in the area. You could go longer than that. Depends on how long your trip is. So let me start with an environmental matter. It's very interesting in the South how we have governors and states who are against climate change and don't believe in it. But they are acting very pro-EV cars, electric cars. And for example, Georgia is one of the best examples. They have been building the Ford F-150, and they've been building other cars there in a plant that's owned and operated by South Korea. And the batteries are built at a variety of places in Georgia. And one of the things that's interesting about this is that the funding for it came from the Inflation Reduction Act. So funds are going into states that are using the funds, and they're making electric cars. And if you ask the politicians in those places, they have an identity crisis because they don't know what to say about it. We had a conservative fella in our panel talking about solar, and he said that there was an increasing aversion to fossil fuels, and that battery cars were becoming more economic, and we had to look at that. And so that was kind of interesting. I'm not praising all the conditions because we didn't have a very long discussion. I mean, the entire program went on for an hour plus, but it was succinct, it was tight, it was important. So how is this going to work out? Well, it's interesting. The almighty dollar seems to have a great effect on policy, and if the capitalist system works, we'll have more and more electric cars coming along, and you see them, and you see the battery chargers by the side of the road and in parking lots and so forth. So I think it's a good thing. Of course, then the question is, where do you get the power that comes into your garage or comes into these roadside places? And is that generated by fossil fuels or wind, or geothermal, or any other kind of means that could give you that kind of energy? So that's a big question. Now, let's turn to the crazy stuff. What we just talked about is, I guess, a little surprising and odd. You got Southern Republicans actually supporting, I guess, environmentally sound means to protect our environment and to save emissions on the highway. That's pretty interesting. But you go a little bit further, and we got the Florida governor, and what is he doing? He has a ban on teaching gender identification and sexuality, kindergarten to 12. Now, I sometimes wonder if he still has had that education himself. Has anybody sat down and discussed with him, drilled down and told him what this debate is about? How it happens, that people don't just choose to do these things. These are heart-wrenching, soul-searching, difficult things to decide. And once it's decided, our society's position should be to respect the good faith and good intentions of those who discover who they are. They don't just choose to become someone. So it doesn't surprise us that DeSantis is a showboat, what they used to call he's a show horse, not a workhorse. And that's true. He doesn't give a damn about policies that are good for the people, that are fair, that conform with constitutional precepts, that respect the current law. Apparently our pigs are arguing over some food when there's plenty of food right there. It's telling me that pigs aren't like humans some days. So we have that. Now, we have the abortion pill debate going before the Supreme Court. And I guess the real question is, if they do anything other than continuing the stay or denying the entire case because the plaintiffs don't have standing, they're not taking the pill, they're not damaged by it, it's all implied that there's something wrong with it, and the FDA doesn't agree with that, and that's the scientific community. So we're going to defer to the bizarre personal religious teachings of a judge in Texas who doesn't know what he's saying or doing, and in the bargain hurting a lot of people because the abortion pill is used in about, they say half of the abortions in America. But the bigger picture is that these people are trying to establish their religion and the myths by which they follow in their faith that need not be and may not be applied to us, because we have a freedom of religion or non-religion of choice, and they can't use the government to establish a proposition that is not backed by science and not agreed to in the political environment. And when it was considered a constitutional right, it allows an individual to assert that right against everybody else. So you can't ignore these things. So the Supreme Court could save those pharma companies who manufacture this pill, and all of those places across America where there are stores of these pills to be used for patients. What is to happen to them? This is going to be a financial disaster. It's going to be a personal disaster. It's going to be a violation of individual and human rights based on the say-so of some wacko in Texas who got on the bench because he thinks Trump is the best thing since sliced bread. That's no way to decide individual rights and liberties, but that's what we have. Now in this category of courts, Senator Durbin is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and he has asked the Chief Judge of the United States, Mr. Roberts, to come up the hill and talk to him about the ethical obligations of members of the court. Well, who could we be talking about? How about Justice Thomas? Wouldn't you be tempted, if you were the senator, to say, so, have you talked to Thomas? Did you ask him, was it true? Did he give you a defense? Did you feel obligated to do anything about it? You are the Chief Justice. What are you doing to manage the reputation and to curate the trust of America because of the regular operation of the Supreme Court? You can go on and on, add your own questions, but that's what we got. But we'll know tomorrow. And we have plenty of reason to be concerned about them taking a wrong turn here, given Alito's past history and the makeup of the court with these political hacks. Finally, there's another development in the Fox case. One of the producers at MSNBC, apparently the team that works for and with Ari Melber, found an earlier statement by the senator from Texas, Cruz, who said before the election, just before the election, in an interview with Fox, hey, you got to actually prove these things if there's fraud. Now, why is that significant? Because it's so obviously true. It's because after the election, he took the very opposite view and would entertain any bullshit that Trump wanted to say, and then argued on the floor of the Senate, or I should say the House and Senate sitting in common, that, hey, we should give them a chance to look at these things without any proof. We've never thought much about Cruz or Trump or Holly or any of these people who are such willing, compliant, and enthusiastic participants in the evils of Trump trying to overturn our democracy and install himself after an election he lost but would pretend to have won without the evidence or the law to support that transition. So that's what I got today. I'm out in an open field because I got out late today, and sorry I couldn't get back to you guys yesterday, but I'm not a great driver. I was really shot. And we stayed in Charlottesville trying to work out a way I could appear on MSNBC, but the logistics were terrible. So we left a lot later than we planned. And the benefit was it was after rush hour, so the drive was pretty fast. But like I said, I'm not a great driver. So that's my thinking for the day. I've had it, and I'll try to talk to you tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.